Check 1, 2, check. Sweet. We are streaming today, doing some more CodeCademy. Check 1. Let's try that again. There we are. Check 1, 2. We are live. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the stream. I'm Noctophonics. Today we'll be jumping back into JavaScript objects. We've been walking through the course on CodeCademy for how to create video games with phaser.javascript. We haven't quite gotten to the phaser part of it yet. We've been wading in that pool, but not swimming. Today we're going to continue our exploration of JavaScript objects. We learned about what objects are and how we can nest objects within objects yesterday. And today we're going to start a few projects. Might be a little bit shorter depending on how long these projects are. But after these couple of instructional projects, then we have a game development, which is kind of like there's a Pokemon game, Pokemon type game that they want you to code. So that'll be fun, but that's probably going to be for Monday. But today we'll go over the two projects they have for us here. So Meal Maker is what we're starting out with. This will pull together all of the information that we've learned so far, but also adding in the JavaScript objects. If you want to catch up on anything, all the videos will be posted on YouTube at some point this month, and you can just search Noctophonics on YouTube and you'll see all the videos there. You can follow along from the beginning. But without further ado, let's get into it. A restaurant has hired you to create a function for their website that allows them to set a meal and price each morning for today's special. Use your knowledge of getters and setters to make sure anyone who uses the new function can generate a meal and a price for today's special without any embarrassing errors. Okay, so create the menu object. So we'll hold the meal, price, and their respective getters and setters in an object named menu. So as we saw last time, go ahead and just have this be a constant. Just menu equals, and then have the curly braces here. Then we have, let's see, create an empty menu object. Yes, indeed. The menu object will hold the meal and price of today's special as properties, and they shouldn't be altered directly. So we learned about this last time. It was the key and value pairs. So the key is what goes to the box of information that the object stores, and it opens up that box for us. Within the meal, or within the menu object, we will create two of these, it looks like, or maybe three. Create a meal property with a value of an empty string. This will eventually hold the name of the meal. Okay, so they want underscore meal. You don't have to put the underscores. That's just basically saying to anybody who reads the code later that we don't want to edit this, that this meal should stay the same, or at least that key should stay the same. And we want this to have a value of an empty string, so that can be mutated later. Right now, the key of meal would open the box and it would show an empty string. Next, add a price property with a value of 0, easy enough, underscore price. And one thing, it is not a semicolon. It is a comma separating these two, separating any of the key value pairs within an object. Price, this is equal to 0. And with these two as well, you don't use an equal sign, you use a colon. So colon between the key and the value, and then after the value before another key, you put a comma. Okay, so we have price in there. Okay, so we know the properties that begin with underscore should not be directly manipulated, but just to validate this knowledge, let's test it out. Below the menu object, directly manipulate the two properties, assigning meal a number value and price a string value. So underneath these, we can access these by saying menu and then using the dot to access the layers within menu. You can think of it like file or folders and files within an object. Menu.meal, and then we want to set this to a number value. I believe you could just do it simply as this, where you just say you access the location and then reassign it with an equal sign to a new value. We'll do that for price as well. Menu.price equals string value, so we'll just do empty string. So it doesn't throw a reference error for us. If we console log both of those, then it will pop up with a new assignments. And they're just showing you this to say that these things are indeed mutable, they're changeable, but we don't intend them to be changed directly. We can change them directly, but we don't intend them to. So we're going to console log the menu object, and to see how not type checking these values could cause confusion for the website visitor. So basically what this is showing is that this is editing the key value pairs directly. We don't want to do that. We just want to edit the values within those and then keep these the same and not change them, not change the kinds of data types. In this case, we're doing like strings to numbers, numbers to strings. But that was just to show us they are still editable or mutable, but we don't want to change them. All right, let's add a setter method to safely reassign the two menu properties. We can add setters and type check the values being assigned. Below the properties, use set keyword to create a meal setter method with meal to check as a parameter. Leave the function body empty for now. So within the object, we're going to create a meal setter. So set meal. This, I believe, within a setter, I know when you call a setter, you don't need the parentheses, but I'm not sure about setting it. I think you set it like this. You set it as a method, but you just put the keyword in front. And then later when you call it back, you don't need the parentheses in the call. But, oh, we need meal to check, right? Meal to check. And this needs to have an equal sign here. I don't know that you need the parentheses around the parameter since it's only a single one, but we'll leave that empty for now and work with it in a few steps here. In the body of the setter method, create an if statement that checks to see if meal to check is a string. Okay, if it is, return the object's meal property with meal to check assigned as the value. So with this, we use if meal to check is equal to, and we need the type of keyword at the beginning. Type of, saying what data type is this? It's asking that question. So we want to know if this is a string. If it is, return the object's menu property with meal to check assigned as its value. So then menu.meal, the underscore meal, would then equal meal to check. Right, so then you're reassigning the value of meal to meal to check, whatever that results in. Okay, it's going to throw a reference error because we are unexpected token of this. Okay, so maybe you don't need the equal sign here. Does it still throw an error if we do that? Okay, I guess you don't need the equal sign when you're putting a setter in. You just simply put in the name of it and then the name of the parameter within parentheses. Little syntax tip there for you. Utilizing the same procedures as above, use the set keyword to create a price setter with price to check as a parameter. So this is going to be parallel to our first setter. So set price. And now notice when we're setting new keys, right, or setting new functions or methods, we don't put the underscore here because all we're doing is basically telling whoever's reading the code or even yourself later that these are accessing the values or the keys up here, but not being the keys themselves, right? We're not changing these keys with simply our assignment of a new setter. Like if we put in the underscores there, then it would change this before the function runs. But in this case, we're just saying, okay, so these are accessing those keys, and then within the function, based off of a condition, those will change. So we want to do price to check. Price to check. We're going to do the curly braces here. We're going to do the same structure as before. If type of, we're going to check this one if it's a number. Using the type of operator with the variable, or sorry, the parameter, a lot of vocab here. The parameter to check is equal to a number. So string number. If it is, then you return the price of the meal, which this is just going to be underscore instead of without the underscore. Reassign this to price to check. Okay. And remember, you got to put in the comma after any code block that you have, because these are two separate key value pairs, or in this case, you're putting in a setter, two setters. So if we put anything else, we'll put a comma at the end of this one as well, but I'm not sure that we're going to add anything more. Okay, so below the menu object, set the values of meal and price using the newly created setter methods, and console log the menu object to check their functionalities. So we're going to go ahead and do that underneath our object, or outside of our object. So to access these, you just simply do menu and then underscore meal. And I think, let's see, so they just want to reset it. They want to reassign it to, let's say, tacos, right? We're going to eat some tacos. And then we want to reassign our price as well. So underscore price to, let's say, get some $5 tacos. How about that? Okay, and then we're going to console log. And this is just the menu object, right? That'll show us all of these. Now there was a method that we looked at yesterday that would take the objects within a menu and make them an array. And then there was one that would make them like a single array, and then there was one that would make them an array for each key value pair. I don't remember what that one was called, but there is a method to do that where you wouldn't have the whole object syntax pop up here. It would just look like an array with the different values. So it looks like it's working. However, let's see, set the values of meal and price using the newly created setter methods. So we've got a duplicate here, because basically what's happening is that we're setting meal setter, price setter. Yeah, so this is just showing that we have setters in place here, but the meal and the price did change. Although I think that's just because we changed it to directly. So we actually don't want to have the underscores here. We want to access our setters and do this properly. So what we just did was incorrect, because we were changing, once again, the keys directly, but we want our setters to do that for us. So instead, we're going to basically call the function. And I think with this, I don't know, once you have a value, you have to put it in as an argument, right? So you need the parentheses. Menu.meal is not a function. It's interesting. Menu.meal, meal to check. Menu.meal is not a function. Check their functionality. Menu.meal. Oh, I think you put it in brackets. Is that what you do? Put in brackets for these. Like, let's try that. Tacos cannot read the property of tacos, or it's undefined. No, because those don't exist within that setter yet. Not sure. Let me see if they give us a hint about the syntax. I forget how to call it. Okay, so it is just like a reassignment. Yeah, okay, so it is just, you just put in the equal sign there. And then, yeah, that still works and shows us that we have two setters, but it also changes our meal and price. Even though we weren't accessing those keys directly, we were saying that for the setters to run, we were calling the setters or reassigning the setters. And then those return the values of underscore meal and underscore price, changing them to the ones we set here. Okay, so far so good. Add a getter method. Now it's time to safely return the values of meal and price properties in a readable form. Instead of directly accessing the properties, we can use a getter method that proactively checks if a meal and price have been properly set before returning the values. Below the setters, use the get keyword to create a today's special method. Leave the function body empty for now. Okay, so underneath the setter, we need to add a comma there to separate those. Put in the keyword get, and then today's special, and then put in, just leave it empty for now. Today's special method, just like this, yeah. So when you're calling a method, if it's not a setter or a getter, you do use parentheses and then you put in like whatever argument you want for that method. But for getters and setters, you do it like a reassignment of a value. Okay, so then in the body of the getter, create an if-else statement to check if meal and price values exist or are truthy values. If so, return a string telling potential website visitors that today's special is, for example, today's special is spaghetti for $5. If meal and price values do not exist or are falsy, return the string meal or price was not set correctly. So with this, we need an and, right? We need both of those values to be truthy. So we need to say if underscore meal, and we don't need to evaluate them to anything. We just need to know, oh yeah, we need to have this dot meal, the underscore meal, because the this keyword references the object that we are in, and then says to look at this parameter or this property of it. If you put in menu dot underscore meal, that won't work because basically the getter only has function scope, not object scope. So when it's looking, it can't see that the menu is there because it's within the menu, right? It's like inside of a box and it can't see the outside of the box. It can only see what's in the box. But this allows us to see outside of the box. So then this is looking at the menu and saying to access the meal property of that menu. We'll do this, and then our two ampersands to say that both of these conditions need to be truthy. Add in another this underscore price. All right, and then this is just going to say, it's going to return a template literal, right? A string including variables and other strings or other words. So we're going to console log. So console log. Today's special is spaghetti for $5. So we need to say today's, right? Within backticks today's. Since we're putting in an apostrophe within backticks, it's totally fine. If you're using an apostrophe within quotations or single quotes, then you need to put in a forward slash, or sorry, not a forward slash, a backslash for the apostrophe to show up. Special is, and then this needs to be the meal, right? So you need to access menu dot underscore meal, yeah. And then say how much it is for, this is going to be the price. And this needs to be, but once again, these can't be menu, right? These can't be menu.meal. They have to be this dot meal, and then this dot underscore price. Exclamation point there. So as this runs, if this condition is true, if both meal and price do exist, then it will say today's special is whatever meal you put for this price. So in our case, it would be tacos for $5. But let's go ahead and say else. If that condition is not met, then we're going to console log a string that says meal or price not set correctly. Okay. All right, so that's our getter. Cool. So now when we call our object at the bottom, it will show our tacos and our price, and then show the getter. But instead of console logging menu, all we need to do now is menu dot today's special. That'll probably have us do that in a moment, but we're just going to do today's special. Today's special is tacos for $5. Sweet. We do need to say that there is a, so if you just put in a value of 5 versus like putting the $sign, I think what you would need to do here is put in another $sign, but have it be have a backslash, right? Backslash basically says ignore any operation that the next character is doing, we don't want this as a character. We want this as, or a special character to, you know, tell that we're going to assign, or not assign. Let me get my words correctly. Correct. See? So we don't want anything to happen with a variable. We just want the $sign to be a literal $sign within the string. So that's what the backslash is for. Today's special is tacos for $5. Now, of course, we don't want a space between them. And again, this backslash is connected to this $sign only. If you then put in backslash with the rest, this is considered like one piece by itself, this whole, or one word, right? So it looks at all of this together and says, oh, okay, so that together also is going to just be as part of the string. So it would say $sign, and then this price, if you have that second backslash there. But just with the single in front of the $sign, it reads that and says, okay, we're going to put that in as part of the string. So now today's special is tacos for $5. And that way you don't have to put in the $sign every time you change the price, right? You can just change the integer. Okay. Finally, use the getter method to console log today's special. Assuming that you use meal setter assigned to a string and the price setter to assign to a number in task 8, you should see today's special logged to the console. If you want to extend your learning, try adding an array of meals and prices to randomly set and get today's special. Well, that's interesting. So, oh, got a question from the chat. Does console logging in the today's special function also return the string? Within the yeah, so like if you put in, or within the function, yeah, so that returns the string as well. So it returns the value of the string and then console logs it, right? You could also do it where, I guess if you put it outside, then you would have like two console logs of the same. Let's see what happens with that. Or no, because then it can't see it. Yeah, so it has to operate within the function for it to return and then log it. At least it seems that way. There might be another way to do it, but it seems that way to me. All right, if you extend your learning, okay, so we're gonna see if we can add an array of meals and prices to randomly set and get today's special. Okay. So I wonder if we put in an array, if we set that within an object, and then price to check, we would have to put in the randomness somewhere within the setter, I think. Price setter to assign a number in task 8. Meals prices are randomly, and that it only returns if you clarify for it to return. Console logging doesn't give a return value, it just logs, that's it. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I assume that was built in, right? Because it was like the only way that something is taken from the function and used or usable is to return it. So I thought there was like an implicit return or something within that. But I suppose those are separate based off of what you're saying. Like the only way, my thought was like the only way to console log to begin with was if the value is returned. If it's not returned, then it's just going to go undefined, which is, that's why, okay, so that's why when we console log it on the outside, or try to, that it just comes up undefined. So we put in the menus.today's special, and now we have duplicates of that, but but yeah, the last is undefined because it doesn't actually return the value. So I think then following that line, following that theory, let's return these. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's good. Let's do the console log of the menu.today's special. See what it gives for that. So it runs it again, but then it also says that it's undefined. because this doesn't have global scope, right? This is just within the function itself, within the object. All right, interesting quirk. Let's go back to this. There we go. All right, let's get back to our array. So array of meals and prices set randomly. So let's set this to return the string itself and then log the getter method. Oh, I see. Gotcha. So that would be 2 steps, and then you would log it versus just doing it within the getter. And then the arrow function is the only thing that has implicit return. Okay, gotcha. Good to know. Good tips from the chat. You have 1 line of code and don't use the bracket notation. Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool, cool. All right, let's set our array here. We can call it, I guess we can just do it within meal, right? We set this to, let's see, have it be tacos. Within the array, you also want to separate with commas. Let's see, tacos. We'll do spaghetti. If I can remember how to spell spaghetti. Spaghetti. We'll do sushi. Set that within a string. We'll do 4. How about that? And then cheeseburger. Okay. All right, so we have our array set with meal. Then menu.meal would equal a random index of that array. So let me puzzle this through here. It's been a while since we used the math.floor, math.random. Math.floor, math.random. You know we need this at some point, so I'm just going to put that in. It's going to be times 4, I believe. Yeah, because 0, or maybe 3. I think it would be 3. So we're index 0. And then this is going to be within brackets and attached to, how would you got meal. That's accessing the setter though. So how would we put it into the meal setter? Equals meal to check. So meal to check would be meal to check would have to be the array, right? So I think that would still work. So we're setting it to a random number. This has to be an index though. Wondering, let's see. Menu.meal. Meal to check. So what happens when we pass this through? We pass this through as a random number, then it assigns this as a random number. It doesn't assign it as the index. So we need to have it be menu.meal. Can you do menu.meal? And then just put the meal to check within brackets to have it check that random. Let's see what it does with that. Okay, so it's accessing the full array. Okay. The check. If meal to check equals a string. So it's not going to equal a string because it's down here. So it's going to just return the full array. So maybe the type of is not correct because that's going to change to be a number because we're passing through a random number. So I think, let's see if we just change this to number. No, still not. Okay. meal. Today's special. And then if we get rid of this though, right, it'll still send back the array. Yeah, so it's not actually changing anything when we do that. So can we do it where we just have that value? No, because that would do the array also. If the meal to check equals a string, a special is this meal for this price. So our getter is bypassing the setters because the setters aren't functioning yet. Okay. Let's see. Type of, so instead of setting it to a random number, can we set it to like menu dot underscore meal and then a random number, and then that will access a random index, and then that should bring back a string, which then would set it to meal to check. Hey, yeah, that's it. Cool. Cool. And now the meal is randomized. Yeah, so with this, when you put in your random integer method there, the math.floor, math.random, that needs to be set as basically the index of whatever the key is that you want to change. So we want to, or access, we want to access the underscore meal property and then have it be a randomized access, random index. So we do that with bracket notation, and then that accesses the meal and gives us tacos, 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 sushi, sushi. And now we have a bit of randomness in our menu. But the other thing is that we need to change our prices as well. So we need to set also an array of prices. But we need to have the dishes tied to that specific price, so their respective prices. So tacos would be 5, spaghetti would be 7, whatever we would have. So let's just start with an array of numbers and just say, like, so we got 5, 7, sushi is 15, cheeseburger is 10, all that. But down here, we wouldn't be able to do a random number because then they would be different random numbers. We would need this random number to access the same index for price as well. So I wonder if we could just say, I'm thinking of it like in a conditional format where it's just like if tacos then 5, if spaghetti then 7, if sushi then 15, if cheeseburger then 10. That sounds like a map method to me, where you take the array and then you say, okay, turn it into 5, 7, 15, 10. So basically, like, map the tacos array or the meal array to the price array. That might be more complicated than we need it to be. So how do we tell it to say, look at the same index of price, right? That's what we want to do. Look at the same index of price. So price to check is menu dash price of price to check. We could have the setter be equal to couldn't have that, could we? Yeah, I know. So if we did, you know, if we had menu dot underscore price, and then we had another random number, this would not be, it wouldn't be equivalent. So we would get different prices for the meals on, you know, different days. Say today spaghetti is 15, tomorrow tacos are 15. Oh, could we say index of? Could we use an index of here? So menu dot meal. I don't know if this would work. I'm curious. Index of, and have it be just be the string that, how do you say, to do an index of a result? Menu dot underscore meal. I guess menu dot meal. Talk about overcomplicating it. It's negative $1. Yeah, it's returning undefined. Okay, so not that. What happens if we do this? Yeah, it's still gonna be -1, right? If we put in tacos, it will work, but then everything would be. Oh wait, no, it won't. Maybe the index of doesn't work on keys. Interesting. Oh, because that's setting the price to, it's setting the price to that, right? Okay. You got price. The longhand way of doing this would be like to just do it within the setter and just say, if meal to check equals tacos, then price of 5. If it equals spaghetti, then price of 7. All the rudimentary way of checking. But I'm trying to think of a more clever way to do that where it does it in one step. So set price to check. What if we did this to where it was if there is an inverse to index of, isn't there? There's like an inverse method to index of. Trying to think of a way for it to say use the same index. How do we say that? How do we say use the same index as that? Let's see. Price to check number. Set it up in an array like that. Oh, wait a second. What if we did what if in our getter, yeah. Okay, so how about we just make this an empty array, right? Start out with an empty array. Then we set the meal, right? And we set the meal with a random number. Price then. No, I guess that's just adding a step that we don't need. We can just put in our prices. Index. If There's a few things popping in my head. I have like a loop idea, but I don't think we need a loop. Let me just start typing down my random thoughts and we shall see if we get anywhere with this. So we want to say that if meal exists, right? If meal is truthy, which this needs to be this, right? Be this dot meal. If meal is a true value, which it is, then menu price would be okay. What if we did this? So instead, we just say index, right? Because that's what we're trying to do. We say index. Do meal, give it an index, and then say that the price, to return the price index, so it would use the same value, something like that. Yeah, empty array is also truthy. Yeah, that's, I do know that, but I was making another step where there didn't need to be one, because I was thinking of like assigning, like mapping a new array based off of the meal, but we can just set our prices and then have it access that. Menu dot underscore price index. So what would this pass through then? We would need to give it something for it to pass through the setter. This dot underscore meal index underscore price index. Yeah. See, we're still gonna have to put in a value that we know. What happens if we do? Can we just run this in one step, like one setter, and just say I don't know, we also like need either a return or we need like return the value of this, or we need to say that menu.price menu.underscore price equals menu.underscore price index. See what happens right now. Okay, so right now we're getting the full array, which is good. At least it's doing something, right? At least it's showing that we're getting the full array of numbers there. And that's without passing anything through, because it still sees this as true, and then index is literally just the full array. Okay. Or no, it's not even looking at it at all. That's just coming up as undefined or whatever. And then this price down here is then looking at the full array. Underscore price. Oh, what if we put it up here? Okay, so get rid of the setter for a second. Get rid of this whole thing. I want to put it all in one step and say menu.price of not index, but of meal to check, right? Because meal to check is going to be a string, and then we need to have like index of dot meal to. Wait, I'm doing that in the opposite direction. hold on. I feel like I'm close, but I don't know. Let's see. So index of meal to check. This is going to be within the parentheses in a string, right? Does that work? So we're saying that the price now is going to be set to, or no, that's accessing the price index. Because then the index of is going to access a different, yeah, so it just skips that. That feels close though, because we're using the same variable to check or to answer the question, right? So meal to check would then be, yeah. How about menu.price equals menu dot underscore meal? I think we tried this in a different way before. Yeah, and it just comes up with a -1 because that method doesn't work on a key. But I think if we do this, then, well, that's just going to change it to a string, right? So that's just, if we do that as an array. Yeah, meal or price not set correctly. Yes, indeed. I do know this. Okay. Okay, what do we do? What do we do here? Menu price. Yeah, because then it says that it's not a number. Price does not exist. There's got to be something simple that I just don't know. Let me check the hint. Access the today's special getter inside of the console log parentheses. What was that for? Was that for the? Oh, what was that? Oh, they were just saying how to do the last bit. We're working on the extra credit here. Yeah, we're working on some projects with JavaScript objects, and we're trying to do the extra credit at the end of this meal maker project. But I think my knowledge has come to an end as far as how to do the last bit of functionality. Let's see. So it's working. It works, but I want to add a little bit more. Yeah, so a little bit more. So to have it say, it randomly assigns a meal, right? So we're saying that we're basically populating a menu for a restaurant. It randomly assigns a meal, and then we want that meal to have a certain price value. So what we had before was that, let me back up a few steps here. Let's go back, see how far back we can go here. See if it will still work with this. Well, anyway, you can see how it's working right now. So what we had before was just that the meal was randomized, and that's working fine. That'll change every now and then. But with the price array, it's just returning the entire array, and I'm trying to find a way to attach a price to a meal. Basically say that this index then accesses this index, right? Something like that. And in other words, right? So how do we, is there a method where we can say that the menu dot underscore price equals the menu dot underscore meal current index, right? How would we code that? How would we code that? Set price of index underscore meal index is true. Index. Meal. Okay, I'm gonna comment this part out because this isn't actually doing anything right now. Let's just comment this out for this portion of it. Oops, not doing that. Let's try that again. There we go. Yeah, how to search an array and find an index. So there's an index of method, but how do we say that the index of this, right, is equal to the index of price, or to assign it a new index? We try to do that directly where it was like, so menu dot underscore price would then be reassigned to whatever the index of meal was. But that doesn't work because it's not like, it's just grabbing from there. Use the result in the price array. Use the result in the price array. Index of on meal. Right, that's kind of the issue, is that when we try to do that on index of on meal, and then this is essentially the meal to check, right? So then it would be saying that although I guess that would be reassigning it, huh? So you need to return that value and populate the array. You need to push it to the price array. So this would actually then be like, or no, you don't need to push it because we're trying to access it. No quotes, that's a string literal, not an identifier. Okay. Okay. So the same result with, oh, I got a plus sign in there, hold on. Meal or price not set correctly. Okay. To check. Yeah, we don't want it to equal that. We want it to access the part in there. So we want to return this value as something, right? Say a variable, right? We create a new variable within this and that says, okay, so whatever index this is, that's what this variable is assigned to, and then put that variable into the price array. To use this instead of menu, instead of the instance, they cover that. Yeah, we did use this for some things down here, but with the setters, it doesn't seem to matter as much. I can go ahead and change that. Yeah. Go ahead and change that and see if that affects anything. But once again, we want to return this value. Right, yeah, if we're trying to access more than one, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole of like doing I guess a variable, and this is gonna be like let set price equal to the index of meal with the meal to check. So if it's spaghetti, then it would come back with 1. Sushi, it would come back with 2, etc. So let's set that, and then this dot underscore price we want to return the value of that. So then return, and I think this needs to be outside of the conditional, but this feels closer. So then we'll have return this price. Yeah, this definitely needs to be outside of the conditional because this is all dependent on if meal to check is a string or no. I think the setter will still be fine that way. Let's see what we got. Okay, we still have the full array. No, we're not. Yeah, I'm not trying to overwrite the arrays. I'm just saying like, okay, so tacos is $5, spaghetti is $7, sushi is $15. How do we how do we equate those? Okay. So line 6 replaces the array with a string. Well, that one's different. That one's for the meal, right? So it's just saying that, okay, yeah, so we wanted to access the, I see, okay. All right. The check equals a string. That does meal the check. Let's go back here. So we have a random assignment of a number, right? Or it's accessing a random index. And it sees that it's a string, then it's assigning that to that specific index, and then it eliminates the array, or just has an array of 1. Or not even that, it just reassigns it to a string. Yeah, just add a new property that stores the index. Yeah, we need a third thing. So what can we do besides, so menu.meal gives a random index of that, then it produces a string. We'll check. The setters don't return anything. That's the thing. Now I'm getting confused a little bit with the layers of this. So it's like, because the way that the special works, where it actually console logs it, it has to see that this meal is, well, this .meal would be truthy anyway. So we don't need this line then. We don't need that at all. And then it would still say, it would give the full array, but now we're just wanting, yeah, okay. So what if we did a new property? Let's see. Hold on, I gotta catch up with what you're telling me here. Yeah, I'll lose the arrays. Yeah, now that you're showing me that, I can see that we were reassigning the arrays, and then we're losing the properties of like yeah. We're losing the data types that we wanted to use. Wait, why did it just delete? That's ridiculous. Okay, I think I'm just going to disable the paragraph censor thing from Streamlabs, because it just deleted all of your messages and not just the long one. Anyway, I think I got your information there. Yeah, we don't want to reassign those. Set price. Menu.meal, math.floor, math.random 3. So the setter sees that it's a string. All right, all of this is now kind of redundant, right? We don't even, we could just say, let's see, let this meal index of be meal to check. And this doesn't return anything, so this is useless as well. I don't know that this setter is actually accomplishing anything now, because it's just giving us the full arrays. Yeah. Set meal equals that. When a setter is called with a string, you want to look up the index of that string in meal. Yeah, so when the setter is called with a string, right? As we're doing down here. Then you want to look up the index of the string in meal, right? So then you only want to store that index as a new property, and that's it. Yeah. So store the index. So let's look. I gotta break down the control flow for my noob thinking. Okay, so menu.meal, this accesses this array, one item in that array, and then basically we just want to store that. We want to store that somewhere. So instead of having it be in the setter, we just want it stored in a new property. So this then can be used as the value of a new key. So again, let me just like comment this out. I don't know that the setters are helping us at all at this point. Let's do that correctly. Lost connection to CodeCademy. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. Try that again. Hello. CodeCademy said no. Too much thinking. Okay, so the today special method can look and see if the stored property is valid. If it is valid, then it can use the index in both the meal and the price arrays. Right. So how do we do that? Like, yes, your logic is exactly, yeah. I'm thinking along the same lines, but how do we do this? So we need this, yeah, just a new value, right? I'm not going to call it setter. I'm just going to call it random, right? Random assignment. This is going to be a key that gives us, but we don't want it to be the index of meal. We don't want that, because if we do that, then price is still left adrift. Don't need anything on line 4. Okay. Okay. And if you wanted to use the setter, depends on how you want to accomplish things. I think the setter seems like an extra step that we don't need. Really all we want is the getter. It's literally, we're just populating a random selection of meal and then attaching that to a price. So then this, we also don't need that line anymore either. Right. So just we're saying pick a random index from meal and then say that price equals that. Wait a second. Okay. Forget what I said. Maybe we'll use the setter, because all that I want to do is store a random number. Want that random number to access one of these for both the price and the meal. So can we do it inside of, I don't think I need anything on line 4 now if we're doing a setter. Let's delete this one, bring this back here. This is so cringe, but hey, we're learning. We're learning. Really unfortunate Streamlabs configuration for a coding stream. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to sit here and read paragraphs and paragraphs from the chat, but also I'd rather just have it be quick for me to glance at and then back to work. Oh, code has a lot of dust. Yeah, okay. For posting links. Oh, I thought you were setting a link. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I need to disable that one. I did not think of that. Okay, basically, let me just completely rewrite the setter, because all of that was just from what they were showing us before with this. Really, the parameter name doesn't matter. We could set it to anything. So let's just rewrite this from scratch. So what we want to do is set this to be a random number. So, and then have it be random. Within the code block, we're going to set the meal to the random index, set the price to the random index, and that's it. So this dot underscore meal with random, yes, I think that's how you do it. It's so simple now that I'm looking at it like this. If this is correct, it's like stupidly simple. Price, random. I mean, it's either stupidly simple or just plain stupid, but we'll figure that out in a moment. Why is that there? Something's broken. There we go. Get rid of that. Okay. Now, all that we need to do is then say menu.meal equals a random number. Yes? Hopefully that doesn't run 2 times, because if it runs twice, then it will be different random numbers. Math.random times 4. Cross your fingers, this is probably wrong. Make sure that these are all separated correctly. Okay. No, it still returns the entire array. So meal equals random. Just random. Oh, do I need to assign that? So, or no, not reassign, because that's changing the array. Okay, let's see. Yes, line 7 and 8 don't do anything. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then 6 and 7 now. Right. Yeah, I'm realizing that as you're saying it. Like, it's not returning anything. You access an element in those arrays and then do nothing with it, so the result is that nothing happens. Yeah, and then it just returns the entire array. Okay. So store random as a property. Well, that's what I was doing before. But then you said you didn't need that line. I'll do that again. Let's see. So random whatever, we don't need the underscore for that. But then this instead of just say this dot random for the parameter. Or just have this be empty and then have it set to. You can make a property with an assignment. Okay. So you're saying within here, within the parameter itself, do an assignment that sets a property? I'm confused. So yeah, you can set it to be this dot random. So this dot random within the body of the setter. So then set random. Make it property with this. Okay. Okay. So delete this. We need to copy this bit and then delete this within the body of the setter. So that the parameter or the okay, so the parameter will feed the new property, and this needs to be this dot random, a random value. Okay, got that much. Okay. This needs to be set to, yeah, get rid of this. So then this sets a new property of a random value. Then these, do these go on the outside of the object? This.meal.random. Random value you pass in, not a new random number. Otherwise you'll ignore what is passed into the setter. Okay, so not within the body of that. Not within this code body. Just within the... Okay. Okay. So it's going to be here instead in the parameter. There. Okay. What? I don't know what you're saying. You're telling me to do one thing and then saying that it's not right. I mean, I know what I'm doing is not what you're saying, but still. Line 6 is mostly right. Okay. So does this just need to be menu then? But you're passing in a number into the meal setter, and that number is named random. Right. So then take the parameter, store it as a new property. Take the number that we're using, that random number, and then store it as a new property. This.random equals random. Right. Yeah. Okay. This.random equals random. So then whatever we pass through here, that will be... Okay. So then when we call it down here, when we call that method, and that's the only thing the setter needs to do because 7 and 8 don't do anything. Right, yeah, we can just delete these two. Even simpler, look at that. We'll use that property. Yeah. Today's special. Right. Yeah, after we use... Yeah, after we assign that. So this is going to then be menu.meal. This will be the random number, or sorry. Let's get rid of this. This is going to be the random number, right? Because then that's passed through the parameter. Then this assigns a property to that. And then today's special will use that as the index for meal and price. At least that's what we want it to do. Not yet though, because it's not attached to that. It's not, it just puts it there and then it doesn't do anything with it. So we've set a property and assigned it to a random number. That's all we've done. So random exists as a key with a random number. Assuming things happen in the right order, you have an index you want to use in both rates. Right, right. So that's the random number that we're storing. We can't see it because it happens behind the scenes, but that's the number that we're using to access both of these. How we do that is beyond me at the moment, but like we'd say, like menu dot underscore meal equals, let me just think out loud. Let me type what I'm thinking. Use it twice on line 11. Line 11. This dot meal Yeah, so like inside of here, put in the property, which is a random number, as an index of that. And then you do this dot random for both of these. Okay. Hey! Thank you so much. All right, got through that one. Yeah. That was a struggle, man. It's so simple though. Look at this. Look at this. This is all we need to do is just set it as a property, and then put it down as the index that we're using. Yeah. The moral of the story is that sometimes it's easier to create a third thing as a storage place, whether it's a number or a counter or anything like that, and then use that to access your arrays if you want them to be equivalent, or at least equivalent indices. But now when we run it, spaghetti, sushi, cheeseburger, spaghetti, yes, and they're all attached to the proper prices. Thank you so much. If I was watching you, I would give you bits. Could also do one validation in both places to make sure the object state is valid. I didn't even comprehend that sentence, so I'm just going to skip that and move on. So validation in both places. So what is that? So both places to make sure the object state is valid. For... Yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm moving on. Okay, next project. Team stats. Hopefully the extra credit in this one is not as grueling as the last one. All right, for this one, we want to create, retrieve, and add information about your favorite sports team. Basketball, soccer, tennis, or water polo, you pick it. It's your job to create data using JavaScript's data structures at your disposal, arrays and objects. After we create these data structures in this project, feel free to challenge yourself to gain insights from them. For example, you might want to get the total number of games your team has played, or the average score of all of their games. Okay, so let us see here. So let's make the data structures to store the information about our team, declare a constant variable and call team and set it to an empty object. Okay, constant team, just an empty object they wanted, so just this. Okay. Our team has players and the games that they have played. Let's represent both of these by adding two properties to our team object. Add a players property and a games property and initialize both to empty arrays. Empty arrays. So just adding these as properties. I was thinking they would want like nested objects, but they just want these as properties. And just have these as empty arrays. So we have a players one separated by a comma, do the games as well. Do arrays like so. Oops, put that on the outside. There we go. Okay. Next, populate the empty players array with 3 players. Each player should be an object containing 3 properties: first name, last name, age. Put each player on a new line to prevent the line from getting too long. Okay, so now it gets a little more complex. So we're going to add objects in here. First, I think we need... So for each of these, we're going to have 3 of them. I'll do them one at a time, but basically the structure is going to be like object, 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 separated by commas within an array. So we'll go ahead and do the first one here. This is going to, let's see, so 3 properties. And I guess this can just be called like player 1. Player 1. So within that player 1 object, we also need the properties of first name, last name and age. So then we can do that same structure for the other 2. So last name and age. Okay, so that's the player 1. Put a comma here. Oh, and so in the little, empty example I was making, there needs to be like a grandfather object for all of that. So basically you're storing all that within the players array, and then player 1 has one with, yeah, okay. So there would be an extra set of braces on the outside of your 3 players. Player 2 will have the same. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this because all that we're changing is the number of player. And just go ahead and put that down here. Number of player, this is going to be, oh, it tabbed it over too. Let's put that over there. Bring this to 2, and then lastly we'll put down 3rd player 3. I don't think they give us names or ages, so we're just gonna put down whatever we want. I want to make sure that this, yeah, that looks fine to me. See if that, yeah, cool. Okay, so first name, Reginald. These all need to be in strings, I'm assuming, depending on how we're using them. But last name, Smith. Age, 28. That can be a number. First name, Levi. Last name, McCoy. Age, 32. We'll put a rookie on the team, name him Trent. And last name's Jordan. Age of 21. All right. Okay. Then let's do the same for our games array. Populate the empty array with 3 games. Each game should be an object containing 3 properties: opponent, team points, and opponent points. Okay. All right, so within the games object, we want game 1. This is going to be an object with 3 properties: opponent, team points, and opponent points. Whoa, opponent points. Let's get our spelling correct there. There we go. Opponent points. This will be separated by a comma from the other 2. Copy these down. Game 2 and game... Whoa. Game 2 and game 3. Oh, I did do it thrice. There we go. Game 2. Did that in the wrong place. Game 2. Game 3. Okay. Okay, create a getter method. Okay, so we gotta populate these 2. I don't know. Points. Opponent, the Barlett Beavers. Team points, we had a score of 2 to 3. The Beavers were a little bit better than us. Opponent number 2. Oh, I guess do these need to be... That should be fine since they're stored within different game objects. I was thinking of having opponent 1, opponent 2, opponent 3, but we don't need that since it's stored within distinct objects. So opponent, the Yankee Doodles. Team points, we got 1 on that one. This one was a draw. And then opponent 3, just say the Toronto, don't know, the Toronto Egrets. There we go. Team points 4 and opponent points 0. All right, so let's create a getter method called players to retrieve the underscore players property. Inside the getter method, return the player's property. With the scope of this project, we won't need to create setter methods because we don't want anyone to change the data saved to the properties. Okay, so this will be outside of the players array, which is going to be down here. This will be a getter, so get players to retrieve that property, return the player's property. Okay, so just like this, set it up as without a parameter, like so. I'm going to create some space at the bottom so this is a little more central. Get players and return underscore players. Players. But this is going to need to have a this dot players. Yeah. Return this dot underscore players. Okay. Create another getter called games to retrieve the games. Okay. Easy enough. Copy the same functionality down. So get game method code body return this dot underscore game. Adding data. We want to add a new player to our team. Add player method to the team object. This method should take in 3 parameters: new first name, new last name, and new age. So inside the method, create a player object by setting the 3 parameters to be the values of the object's 3 properties: first name, last name, age. Finally, add the player object to the team's player array. Okay, cool. So this is like our little factory function inside of here. To the team object, add player method. So let's add player. Within this, it's going to have 3 properties: new first name, new last name, and a new age. So 3 parameters to be the values of the object's 3 properties. I probably will need to read this a few times. So within the code body here, so player, create a player object by setting the 3 parameters, right, these things, setting the 3 parameters to be the values for the object's 3 properties: first name, last name, age. Finally, add the player object to the team's players menu. Okay, I guess we haven't used like just the word player. We use underscore players and underscore, or without the underscore, just players. So we'll go ahead and create this. So the object let player, I'm just gonna call him new player. Yeah, let new player, right? New player, this is going to equal an object. And then the properties are going to be those parameters. So new first name, new last name, new age. Okay, easy enough. Finally, add the player object to the team's players array. Okay, so then after this, we need a comma, or no, we don't need a comma there because that's just saying this is what the object is. Then we need to return player. Oh, I know. We need like this dot player. Add the player object to the team's players array. Oh, okay. So I think this dot underscore players, we can do a push method here. Push players, or play. Sorry, new player is what I needed. New player. Okay. Below the team object, let's try out our new player method to add a new player. Bugs Bunny. Age 76. Log the team's player's property to check to see the new player was added. Okay, so underneath the object, let's do the new player method. So team dot add player. We don't need the, wait, do we need it? Yes, and then a regular method, we need the parentheses, as well as the arguments. So bugs, right? Bugs, comma, bunny, comma, 76. Space Jam reference, I appreciate it. All right, so the last name unexpected identifier, why is that? Last name, oh, because we need to add commas, we need to add some commas here. Missed a whole bunch of commas. So commas before, or sorry, commas after the first name and last name. Just all after all the properties in the objects. We did those on the outside, but not in the internal objects. The nested ones. There we go. All right, now what else is the issue? Let add player unexpected identifier. Oh yeah, that's right, because you don't need that. Add player bugs. Bugs is not defined. Team add player bugs. Oh, right, because these need to all be strings. You're getting there, getting through the errors. Hey, there we go. Sweet. So now no errors, no reference errors. Let's go ahead and console log that. Log team. Okay, so we have player 1, player 2, player 3, new first name, new last name, new age. Yeah, so it did add a new player to... Why is it not showing... Function add player, games, it shows the games. So it did add in our new player, Bugs Bunny. But it did not log the other players. Oh, well, it did, but it's just showing them as objects, right? It's not saying that they are... Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, it worked. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so to add player, you add in those 3 arguments that's passed in through this function, set into a new object, and then added to this player's, and added to the end of that. Okay. So then the scorekeeper has some new information for us. Create a method for adding game results called add game that takes 3 parameters. All right, cool. Inside the add game object by setting 3 parameters to be the values. Yep, so the same thing that we did with player, but we're doing it with game this time, which is great. I like doing that, where you repeat the same process, just with different words. Same syntax though, helps solidify the memory. So add game, this is going to be new opponent, new team points, and new opponent points. Opponent points. Within this, we want let new game. New game equal. And then all those parameters up there as the properties. New opponent. New team points. And we're doing the destructuring technique of, like instead of doing where we have the key value pair of new opponent equals the parameter of new opponent, shorthand way of saying that is just to have a comma, and then it knows that the value is going to be the same name as its key. New opponent points. Okay. Looking good, and then on the end of this we need to push it to the game. So this underscore games.push and new game. Okay. And then we're going to add a new game. And let's see what they set up for that. So we have finally below our team object use the add game method to add and record add a record of a new game. Our team played against the Titans, where we scored 100 points and the opponent scored 98 points. Okay. So the new opponent is Titans. We scored 100. And they scored 98. Okay, so what do we have here? We have our player objects. We have the new player name. We also have the new game object set out like this. Indeed. I wonder. So this is pushing this to the end of games, right? Adding it as one whole object. But I don't think we need what I mentioned before as the grandfather brackets outside of here. I don't think we need that because it's already set up as an array. And now after we delete these, or the braces, sorry, we do need the brackets. We don't need the braces though on the outside. Or do we? We do. Oh, I was deleting the wrong ones. Those are not, yeah. So we do need those, okay. Player one. Oh, I see, because I'm setting it up as this is a key to the value of an object. Instead of doing it where each of these is assigned, let me try that. Let me see if we reassign this. Or not? Maybe not. Maybe that's not the way to do it. I don't think so. I think it is. All right, so scratch what I just said. You do need the outside braces to keep everything in proper order. Because then we'd have player 3. Oh wait, no you don't. No, because then it adds a new object. Adds a new object there. So let's get rid of these. What does it say? Player 1, unexpected token. Okay, and then player 2, we just set these as variables then? Just do all these. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, so if you have the braces on the outside of everything, outside of the, within the array but outside of all of the objects, then it will create nested objects where there don't really need to be nested objects. What we're doing here is setting new properties and just assigning those objects themselves so that when we console log it, it'll actually come up with the names rather than nested object and it can't see what's inside of there. Let's do that with game as well. And then the issue here is we've got it's set up like a key value pair of the key being the game name and then value being the object. There we go. That's better. So yeah, then we have our players. Original Levi, Trent, and Bugs playing against the Titans, which is a new opponent, points, and all of that. Sweet. That one went off without a hitch, right? Much better. Let's start the quiz. Which of the following object methods can be used to copy all the properties of an object into a new object? Which of the following object methods can be used to copy all of the properties of an object to a new object? Object.assign. I remember that. It was object.assign. I did not use that in any of the projects. Which line of code would not print the value saved to num_num key in the temp object? So we want to print this, and which line of code would not print it? So console log temp object num method. Oh, it would be the first one, right? Because the getter does not need parentheses when you're calling it. So this would return undefined, yes? Yeah. We wrote a getter. This line of code, this line is looking for a regular method, and it would cause an error because the regular method does not exist. The getter method does. What will the following code output be? Or what will the following code output? So constant car is an object with doors, dirty, color, let key in car, console log key. Well, it wouldn't be console log key. What would the following code output? Well, key is not attached to anything, right? Key in car. Or, oh, key inside of this. So key is at the same layer as the other keys. Of course, they had to call it key. Or is it? Is this establishing a new layer? So it's saying car, key, number of doors is dirty, and color. I think so, because the key is not storing what's stored within here with the for, true, and red. So I think it would be this one, right? Because it's containing, if key is the one that's containing the others, it would be that. The code will iterate through the car object and print just the key. Not the, oh, I get it now. So this, the for in function makes it so that key is a parameter or being used as a parameter within car. And so it would go through the car object and then output every first key. It wouldn't show you the values, it would just show what's in car itself. Okay. So what should we add to the empty with discount method to return the cost of the meatballs object with a $2 discount? So let meatballs equal an object cost of 5 with discount. With a $2 discount. With discount method is this dot cost minus 2. Return this dot cost minus 2. Return cost minus 2. Yeah, it's got to be this dot cost and then it has to also return it. So that one. What is a method? If we don't know by now, we're in trouble. A method is a function that takes an object as a parameter. No, a method is a property with a function as a property with a function as its value. Yes. A method is a general term used to describe it. I think it's the second one. Yeah, it's the second one. Okay. How can we add a property to the object below? Let bikes swim. Let bikes specialized equal red. Let bikes specialized equal red. Okay, so add a property to the object below. Maybe let bikes dot specialized equal red. No. It doesn't need quotes around it because it's just one word without any special characters. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't need to be, yeah, because it's like it's, I mean, this would work, right? Wouldn't this work because it's within, I'd almost say this one, but I don't think you need to, yeah, let's go with this one. No? Syntax error since we're not declaring it. Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, okay, so it is this one. That's a little tricky because you don't need to have it be within the brackets or quotations. You can just have it be dot specialized and equal red. This would technically work, but it doesn't need to be like that. What is a factory function? A function that returns an array of objects. A function that takes an object as an argument and then modifies it. Yes, indeed. Wait, what? That returns an object. Well, yeah, it returns an object after it takes it as an argument and modifies it. Yeah, it doesn't really take it as an argument. Yeah, factory function is a function that returns a new object, not one that modifies an existing object. takes an object as an argument. But if it, okay. I wasn't thinking of it like it takes an existing object. I was thinking that you input what you want the new one to be, and then you modify the one that was there, which is like the empty. Yeah, anyway. A function that returns an object. Yes, indeed. It takes object properties as arguments and then returns a new object. What are keys in this object? Let apartment equal coffee maker, AeroPress, ceiling fan, true, books of 114. So just coffee maker, ceiling fan, and books. Yep. Okay. Which of the following statements is correct? Objects can't store other objects. Objects store data in numbered positions. Objects store unordered data as any type as key value. There, objects only store strings. Is this one? Wait, what? Oh, is correct, not incorrect. I was thinking like, yeah, that's not correct, numbered positions, but again, they only store strings is not correct. Objects store unordered. Yes, this is what they do. I do know this. I read the question wrong. Given the following code, which expression will evaluate to apples? Okay, so we're looking for apples here. Fruit, apples. Refrigerator, produce drawer, fruit. Produce drawer? Right here? Yeah. Refrigerator, produce drawer, dot fruit of 0. That should be what we need, indeed. How can we call the method on the code below? Say hello. My object say hello? Yes. That would be indeed this one. Which is the correct syntax for creating an object literal? My object an object literal, this one? Yeah. Or I forget what specifically object literal refers to. Need colons. Okay, yeah. Like, so the object literal is the basic syntax that you use for most things. This, we were using this in the previous exercise for like the team members. But that's kind of a special case. What's wrong with the setter method in the example below? Temporary object equals, so wrong with the setter method. So num is not going to refer to anything. It needs a this keyword. The setter should contain this.num in place of num. Yes, that one. Which of the following is an example of a destructured assignment? Aha. So the name isn't going to be destructured. Okay, so none of those would be. Let's see. Let name equal my dog dot name. Let name equal my dog. Let name equal my dog dot name. Let color equal tan. I think it's this one, right? So it's saying that name, and you put in whatever you want, is going to be the property of that. It's not correct. So the value of name will be undefined. So it's this one. Oh, so it also, it's even shorter than that. So it simplifies it where it says my dog dot, and then whatever this is whatever argument that you're passing through. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. Terrible. Let's try that again. Which is the following object was going to use to copy all of the properties of an object to a new object? This one. Console log, we wanted the method here, so it's going to be the one with the parentheses. This one, this is the for in evaluation. So then it's saying that for every value within car, call that key, essentially. Call every value within car, use the word key as the thing for each of those. And then that way you can loop using that parameter without having to reference each individual key name. You just have one name to reference all of them. So this is going to be this one. So it will iterate through the car and print each key. So it's not creating like a new layer of the hierarchy within the object. It's just saying that each of these now has the alias. I like to think of it as that word. It is the alias of key. What should we add to the empty with discount? Because this is with discount, we need the return cost, but this cost minus 2. Method is a property with a function as its value. It's a function that takes an object. A method is a general term used to describe how to create. No, it's a function that takes an object as a parameter. Method is a property with a function as its value. It's this one. Yeah. Bikes. This one was technically correct, but I was confused because you don't need to write it like that. So yeah, you don't need the brackets or the quotations. Yeah, see, they say they're testing you on that and say that they could accomplish the same thing using dot notation. That's what I was looking for the first time around. But anyway, if it's technically correct, go with it because it is how you add one. What is a factory function? Function that returns an array of objects is... Wait, is it the... Well, no, it's just... It returns an object. It doesn't create an array. It returns an object, yeah? Yes. You can use it many times, but it just returns them individually. It returns instances of that object. What are the keys in the object? So this is the coffee maker, ceiling fan, and books. Following statements is correct. This is unordered data, any type of key value pairs. Produce drawer, fruit of 0. We need that to be within brackets because it has a space, like so. My objects say hello. We're trying to access the method within that. Object literal, so basically exactly what you, the standard way of doing it. What's different between these two? Oh yeah, this way. We don't need the semicolon before the object. Wrong with this one, we need the this in place of num. And this is just let name equal my dog. Woohoo! Continue learning. All right. We're going ahead and give you a little preview of what is to come. We have Electric Mouse coming up. This is like a Pokemon type game where it's turn-based and you have different moves that have different effects and different chances of landing, different chances of critical hits and things like that. It's actually kind of fun. I've worked through this before, but we shall do it again live, and we will do this next week. And for now, I hope that you gained something out of this. My chat is currently down, so I can't see if you're posting any messages at the moment, but thank you for watching. I will see you next week, hopefully. I hope that you are learning a little bit like I am, struggling through this. Hopefully it's not too frustrating seeing me struggle. But I hope you all have a good night and happy coding. Live long and prosper.